Hi, I'm Marina and I'm going to tell you exactly why I love my Pfaff machine. You're either watching this video because you want to know about Pfaff machines, you're not familiar, or you want to find out which machine to buy and you're a first time sewing machine buyer, and I'm hoping either way I can give you some answers here. The first thing you have to watch out for when you go and buy your sewing machine, and I want to start with that, is the weight of the sewing machine. You should never buy a lightweight sewing machine. It should be a really good weight. I mean, this is like really heavy. The reason for that is that inside the plastic casing you have got a metal frame. So if you've got a metal frame, this thing is not going to break easily. The next thing you need to know when you go into the shop, please take fabric with you, because what they're going to do is they're going to give you fabric like this. It's a really sturdy cotton, and if you sew on that on any of their machines, of course, it's not going to not work. It's going to be absolutely fine no matter how bad the machine really is. What you want to do is take stuff like oilcloth, chiffon, organza, satin, and see if you can do a little narrow rolled hem with that, right? This is something that will not transport on a lot of machines, so if you get a cut off of an oilcloth, I would take that. There are different types as well. Here I've got one which is just a tablecloth, and they tend to work a little bit better but still give you a problem when you have got a substandard machine. So that way you can really tell. So oilcloth is the thing. Don't just use this heavyweight cotton and say, oh yeah, this machine's great, because it probably isn't. The third thing is they probably will show you a variety of machines and prices, and they will have electronic machines and they will have mechanical machines like I do here. And I like both machines. I'm going to show you in a minute why I prefer as your first machine definitely a simpler model and an electronic model only as your secondary machine. I want to just drive the point home why I would buy a mechanical machine. What's really important to me, I like to work really tidily. I do collars. I need to get to the point in the corner exactly, and I'm going to show you why that is harder with an electronic machine than a mechanical machine. Now with a mechanical machine, if I want to hit a point exactly and I sew towards it, and I realize, oops, I will overshoot. What can I do? I won't quite get there. Can you see it? I can use a wheel, turn it forward a little bit. Look, I'm overshooting. I can press the backward button and it will push it back to that place, so I can adjust where I need to go and hit my corner perfectly. And that is something you can't do with the electronic machine, so let's have a look at that now. I get there, and the thing that you'll notice now, because the electronic machine does a full stitch, I'll have to decide whether or not, oops, I go there or not. I've overshot it. See, I can't actually go there. So now I have to go back to the line that I needed. And you see what I mean? I will do that little bit of a stitch and go too far because it can only do a whole stitch. People say, well, then you can put the stitch length down instead. But tell you what, I don't want to put my stitch length down. I just want to be able to go, really. The next point I want to talk to you about is buttonhole feet. Now, the electronic machines will usually have a buttonhole foot where you can put your button in at the top, and then it'll automatically do the buttonhole exactly the right length. Now with some of the machines like Janome, the buttonhole always ends up bigger than it needs to be, even though you've got the button in. So you definitely need to check that. With Pfaff you don't have that. It comes out exactly the right length, so that's brilliant. With the simpler foot that comes with a mechanical machine, you'll have to actually find where it is, and then you line up, you know, the little red line here and the line on the foot, and then that's it. But you have to measure it out basically. Now you would say that this makes a nicer buttonhole, it is easier and it's faster. This takes more preparation. You need to know what you're doing, and makes a reasonably good buttonhole. The problem is that if you don't know how to sew well and you are not like an expert and you use this foot, one of the things that happens is if I put down my sensor, which is right here, you can see the sensor there, then if you touch that, or if your fabric touches it, the computer inside will say stop sewing, and you have half a buttonhole. And I'm sure you all had this if you have worked with an electronic machine, and it's really annoying every time I do something with this machine and I do the buttonholes. I tell you, I always have one where it does it, and I forever turn off my machine and back on and reset the buttonhole because I'm not sure if I touched anything wrong, and I don't want to have to unpick it, especially if I sewn on silk or something like that. Now this one doesn't do that, and so I quite like this. Of course, the buttonholer of this particular model of the mechanical machine is not 100% of the quality of this one. I'd say it's about 75% to the 100% there, but in the big scheme of things, I think it's good enough. And I've used this machine for professional sewing for 25 years. I sewed flower girl dresses on Amazon. I had my own workshop. I had a bridal shop, and I used that, and industrial machines, of course, but that was my go-to machine. Really, really love this. It's good enough. Now, the other thing is, of course, that with all these machines, you got numerous stitches that are really fantastic. And when you look at your electronic machine, you got a multitude of different options on here, and I do love all the little flowers, and they look at this bow. I mean, it's fantastic, I have to say that. And you compare it to this little one here, and I'll just open this up, and this is all you get. You know, it's not actually very much, but you've got zigzag, which you need, you've got straight stitch, you've got blind stitch for your hemming, you've got your buttonhole foot. Do you need anything else? Now, what you've got here is your dial for your zigzag, so you can go as high and as low as you want, which I think is great. It's manual. And then here you've got the dial which moves your needle over, which is again really great, because if you wanted to top stitch something, say you want your foot to be right on the edge and you want to stitch closer to the edge, all you need to do is do that, and then you'd get a really nice top stitch. Let's just do that real quick. And there you can see that would be then the perfect distance for whatever you have decided, which is, again, it's very simple, but it works and it's reliable. And here you've got all the little buttons, which are really simple. And then here you got your stitch length. And if you go all the way down to the bottom, you've got stretch. And I think that is the one that a lot of other machines do not have. So if you go out of Pfaff, the simpler machines will just simply not have that. And Pfaff is great because it just says, as a company, we want to offer our beginners or advanced sewers the option to sew with difficult materials, which you can do with all of the Pfaff machines. Now we've talked about the precision that both machines are capable of, both are. I'd still prefer the mechanical machine because it's simple and it works. And this is the Pfaff Select. And the other thing it's got, it's IDT. You may ask me, what is IDT? And it's basically, you know, when you get those special transporter feet that you can get and you put them on the back of your machine to make sure it transports with really difficult fabrics, well, you already got that included. It transports everything evenly, and this foot is the IDT. And I just want to show you how that works with and without IDT. And we're going to take some really heavyweight fabrics here. So I have got here some cording, which is for bag making, and I want to sew this. I'm going to take the IDT off, and I'm going to sew through 2 of these layers here, just from that point. Now, if I was working with a different machine, it might be more difficult. So I'm gonna just start layering this up more and more. You see how this transports? beautiful, right? So this is the average 2-layer business, and you can see here quite clearly that has transported okay. So I'm just gonna like cut a bit more so we can take this a step up. I want to try that with other machines. You're gonna get into trouble, and I'm just gonna put another layer on and see how that transports. Still does it, no IDT yet. This is how good Pfaff is. Let's take this out and have a look. Still same stitch. I want to do one more. I'm going to just cut another one here, and I'm going to run that right next to it. And we're up to 4 layers now. That is a massive thickness. Just look at this here. That's massive. Oh, it's really, really struggling, right? 4, not doing it anymore, doesn't like it, and you can see here that it's not the same anymore. It doesn't work as well. So let's put the IDT on, the little supporter foot, and I'm going to just cut 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to sew over those. Okay, I can hardly get it under the machine. Let's see. All right, take it out. Oh, look at that. Look at the difference. This is without the IDT and this is with. What this shows you is that the transport of this machine is absolutely fantastic. Have a look at the thickness through which you're sewing here. It's amazing. Now I want to show you something else while we're on the sewing machine, and that's working with laminated fabrics. Now if you're using Janome, and I only can speak to Janome and Pfaff, you know, I have used Husqvarna as well, but I haven't used Elena, and people swear by that, and maybe it's just as good, I don't know. My experience talking from teaching courses and having 10 Janome machines and trying to sew little bags, as you can see blended in here, the pictures of them, it was a nightmare. In the end, I did bring in my machines. I bought in 2 machines and they were working on those, because the moment the room got a bit warmer and this fabric here started getting hot or warmer, you know, just in the summer when you do the courses, it wouldn't transport at all. It was just a hammer in the same place over and over. So if you are going to get yourself a sewing machine because you want to make all these these little bags, cosmetic bags for the bathroom and presents and gifts, and you get a machine that is relatively cheap but doesn't transport well, you're going to be so disappointed. So let's run this through. Perfect, right? It transports so well. Even when you have laminated on both sides. Perfect. No trouble at all. You get to a fabric, oops. Here, let me just do this. This is the laminated cotton, which is very, very popular. So I'll just let that run through. And you can see it goes at the same pace. It doesn't stop or anything, and it doesn't get stuck at all. What if you have laminated fabric on both sides? So say I'm going to do top stitching on a handle. No problem, eh? Perfect. It does it. Now let's just layer up the laminated to 4 layers and go foot width next to it and just see what it does then. No issue. And this is why I'm recommending Pfaff machines. It's perfect. Now I want to get to the final point of what to watch out for when you buy a sewing machine, and one of the biggest differences between the electronic machines and the manual machines is that on the electronic machines you have a top loader. That means your bobbin rests in here and the bobbin case is integrated into your sewing machine. And the unfortunate thing is that if you are a beginner and, for example, you haven't gone through the tension discs and you just forgot and you just go, it'll clot up in here and it will literally distort the fine tuning of your bobbin, and very often it then has to go into service, and it's expensive to do, and it happens really easily. Now, it doesn't happen to me, and if you've been sewing for years, it won't happen to you. And if you're a very tidy little sewer who will not forget that this happens, it probably won't happen to you either. But I have taught courses, and the one main reason why I had to take them into service was that beginners did that a lot. Maybe they did it because they didn't care. They were council machines, they weren't their machines, and so they weren't careful with them. But I would like to give them the benefit of the doubt and say, no, I think actually for a beginner it's really easy to damage this part in here. Now let's have a look at what it looks like with a front loader. Now here you see the front loader, and there's a clip on here which you pull open, and then you can take out your bobbin and your case, and you can also put it back in. The one thing I wanted to show you quickly, because some people have trouble understanding how that works, and that's how you bring up your thread once you've put your bobbin case in, and that is you hold on to the thread with your left hand, that's the yellow one, bring the wheel forward, and then you wait until that thread comes around, and then you just simply yank up the yellow thread, the upper thread, and you can just pull it through. There you go, and you brought your thread up. And I just thought I quickly show that because that's a question that comes up. It's easy to break the bobbin in here, and this one is fairly sturdy. You can do a lot to this before this breaks, believe me. So to sum this up is, if you want to get a starter machine, I think this Pfaff Select is great. So all you have to do is go on pfaff.com or pfaff.de or wherever you live, and you can find the trader that has got Pfaff in their shop, and then you go visit them and you give them a hard time. You take all the fabrics, you try it for yourself, you compare them to other machines if they've got them. A lot of these traders have different machines in there. They definitely should have a Pfaff for you to try, because in my view it is the best machine out there and it will last you forever. So I hope this helped you a little bit, and I'll see you next week where we're going to do something else. Bye for now.